What's going on, Terran House? Totama, Toaster of the Void here with another video, and this one, as I asked in the Discord, is per the request of Brother Astyanax, and he wanted to go over Liches. So, we're going to use this video to talk, one, about Overframe, which is a website you should definitely be using when you're making your builds, and two, we're going to talk about what goes into a Lich weapon, what makes it good, what makes it bad, the do's and don'ts, and then, of course, the pregame. So this is episode 1 of Terran House Guides, Lich Hunts. So, to start with, there are two things you'll want to do. You either need to pick a weapon, and then pick a progenitor based on the weapon, or you want to pick a progenitor and then get yourself a pool of weapons that are going to be good with that progenitor. So let's start with, what is a progenitor? When you spawn a Kuva larvaling and you kill it, the element that the Kuva weapon will get is based off of this here list of warframes. So taking this list into account is very important when you're trying to spawn a Lich. Obviously, you'll have to axe whatever frames you don't have. The key on this is basically you want heat, possibly toxin, possibly magnetic, or possibly impact. Those are kind of your three go-to. Cold just on its own, not really that good of an elemental. Electricity on its own, it has some very niche builds, but you're building around an Archon shard, and you're really only going to want it for a weapon that you're using with a frame that has that Archon shard. It's pretty messy. Skip that. Impact has one major use, which is for the Kuva new core, but we'll get into that later. Radiation just never really was that good, and the reason to do magnetic is because of the galvanized aptitude mod, which if we look at this mod, as you can see, it's 40% direct damage per status affecting a target for 20 seconds, stacking up to 2 times. That is 80% more damage per status. So the reason that you do magnetic is because you can do a build like this. With radiated reload, we'll get radiation, rhyme rounds and malignant force will give us viral, hellfire will give us heat, and internal bleeding makes it so that our impact status procs have a chance to apply slash. So that means that we have our 3 physical, impact, puncture, slash, which we're double dipping on slash a little bit with internal bleeding, but that's really good. We get radiation, heat, magnetic, and viral because our weapon is innately magnetic. So that gives us 7 different elementals to pull from whenever we're doing galvanized aptitude damage. With 93% status chance per projectile, more or less every shot that we take from this weapon is going to proc its damage. And with every shot procking one of these elementals, or flat damages, you're going to get a lot of damage out of this weapon. That's why we want to do magnetic. Obviously, because we can get radiation with things like radiated reload. With the Whispers in the Wall update, there is basically a mod for every weapon in the game that will give you 60% radiation. You can always mod for viral with cryo and malignant force. And then hellfire is a pretty standard. This is kind of your bog standard build. Not too bog standard, but it's a variation on a build, and it feels really nice. You get Prime Shred for, obviously you can drop Prime Shred for regular Shred. The Galvanized Aptitude is pretty much the only thing that you want to make sure you have. Obviously, if you don't want to use Stabilizer, you can drop that. You don't need an Exilus mod. I even technically forma'd this slot. But that kind of gives you why you would want to use Overframe, because you can play around with and see where you can optimize your build and where you can fit in these extra mods. And also, if I click on this, this will give me only the mods that I can put in this slot. So you can see I get like Aerial, Gun Glide, Prime, like boom, Prime. There we go. You know, this is definitely, Overframe is definitely a website you should be utilizing before you just go randomly throwing forma into your weapons, just because maybe I don't actually need 3 V polarities as this shows. I don't need that, so I can drop this down. That brings my forma count down 1, and I still have 10 extra polarity. Like, I can drop 2 forma off of this build comfortably, so instead of having a, well, this starts with a V polarity. So instead of having a 5 forma build, I have a 3 forma build. Now, it's a little screwy with the Kuva weapons, because Kuva weapons say that they have max rank of 40, even though you need 5 forma to get that. So it does get a little screwy with Kuva weapons. Just a heads up. Next up, let's talk about the Kuva weapons themselves. Kuva weapons do have some that you'll want and some that you won't want. For instance, we're just going to scroll down here. You never want a Kuva Grattler. You never want a Kuva Seer. And that is because you'll never be able to use the Kuva Grattler because it's an arc gun. Because it's an arc gun, you'll need a mag, a grav mag, in order to actually utilize it, which means you will have to complete Fortuna, or you'll have to buy it with Platinum, and I don't even know if you can buy it with Platinum before you complete Fortuna. Kuva Tonkor, you don't want that because that item is just, the weapon's just bad. It's probably one of the worst weapons in the game. Kuva Kraken is just not that good. To kind of axe out the explosive weapons as well, so things like the Ogress or the Tsar. The reason why you don't want these explosive weapons is you have to actually think about, why am I getting a Kuva weapon? And what am I going to use it for? The Ianga goes away for the same reason that the Kuva Grattler goes away, because it is an arc gun. You would need to buy a thing, and you'll need to buy a grav mag at some point in order to actually be able to utilize it, which is not something you want to do. The Brahma, I would say don't go for. I would say avoid the explosive weapons early on. The Brahma, the Tsar, and the Tonkor. The Tonkor you want to avoid because the Tonkor is bad. The Brahma and the Tsar you want to avoid because these weapons have really bad ammo economy. Like, it's honestly one of the worst ammo economies in the entire game by design, because they're these high damage explosive weapons that are meant more for AoE clearing enemies than boss killing. So if you run into a boss fight, say you're doing the Steel Path assassination of the Sergeant or whatever, maybe that does fine, but then now you have to go fight Vehek. With Azar, you're going to run out of ammo way before you kill Vehek, and then you're going to have to switch to something else. Weapons I would recommend, if you're looking for a rifle, probably the ease of use factor for rifles is going to give you the Kuva Hind. Kuva Hind is a rifle that has 3 firing modes. You can choose single, burst, or full auto. Just makes it a really nice weapon to actually utilize. You don't have to like screw around with stuff. Technically, the Kuva Kortak has more damage potential, but the Kuva Kortak alternates between a quad single shot, so you'll fire all 4 barrels at once if you aim down sights, or full auto when you're aiming from the hip. It can be kind of not too user-friendly with that mechanic. Otherwise, the Kuva Dracoon is an okay shotgun. It's not the greatest. You would rather go for something like the Kuva Comb or the Kuva Heck. The Kuva Heck is probably up there as one of the better weapons that you can get early on from the Kuva Liches, just because this used to be a weapon that we used to one-shot the Archons, and it is currently the weapon that you can use to one-shot the Sisters of Parvos or the Kuva Liches. So, you know, there's that. Probably avoid the Shieldig. It's a hammer. If you like melee, go for it, but you just have better options here. The Chakur is a flintlock. Single shot, flintlock. If you get a headshot, it explodes. It does have good damage. It kind of has ammo economy issues, though. So, maybe avoid it. As far as secondaries go, the best secondary in the entire... One of the best secondaries in the entire game, the Kuva Nukor, is right here. This is the weapon that you would want to put impact on because you can do some bullshit with it. But for now, I would stick with things like the Hind, the Karak, the Kortak if you're looking for assault rifles, or the Comb or the Heck if you're looking for shotguns. Obviously, if you would like to, you do not have to follow my advice. You know, maybe you're like, screw it, I'm going to get the Kuva Ianga and I'm just going to throw it on my my Necromech. I can't tell you what to do. I can give recommendations. Maybe you say, screw it, I really want to blow up the map with the Brahma. I'll figure something else out. Which you can do something where, like, you take the Kuva Nukor and you pair it with the Kuva Tsar, and you use the Kuva Nukor for bosses or other things that the Kuvanukor is going to be able to take care of, and then you use the Tsar for general use. You do want all of these weapons eventually just for the mastery of them. There's a lot of mastery in all of these weapons because they all go to rank 40. So instead of giving 3,000, they get 4,000 mastery, which is quite a bit, although that is an investment. Top 3 weapons I would get from this pool: Kuvacomb, Kuvahind, Kuvanukor. Those are your three. Those are your big 3 for your early mid game or like mid late game kind of weapons. Before you have the pool and the Warframe ability to use things like the Tsar and the Brahma, but you still want something that can kind of carry you. Anyway, guys, the next video is actually going to be on how to spawn a Lich and how to eliminate things from your pool. It's very simple. It's very easy. We are going to, of course, be going for a Kuva Crack because that's the weapon I have decided. I've already got my frame and everything picked out, but that'll be that, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like, and next episode, spawning a Lich and showing off how to remove weapons from the pool. That video is going to be a long one. Later.